Alright. Welcome back to Overlord Anime Review, episode number 18. This will be the 49th episode of the series, The Last King. This episode finishes up adapting Chapter 2 and goes through pretty much the entirety of Chapter 3. And from what I can tell, they don't cut very much here. Not really, no. First, we start off with seeing Ain's reaction to seeing the armor who's was Intercell, and this picks up where we left off in chapter 2. Now, what happened right after this was a section that actually. Now, here's the thing. I thought the whole thing with the thing was original. Nope. Apologies for that. I thought it was. I didn't read any further than basically I thought what I adapted to, but apparently there's like a section of pages from this chapter they just skip straight to. I think it was from page 66 to pretty much it was 166 to I think it was, let's see, it was to about 77. Yeah, basically about 11 additional pages. I thought that they apparently took this section and put it in the last episode, and basically this episode adapted what's around that. There was an intermission also here to describe the cities. They skipped that here, so basically Iron admits, yeah, he knew that they were going to do, of course, the whole iron intro. Of course, they armor along something called Red Drop. Yes, the suit of armor looks like it's from freaking Gundam. Who also carries a freaking turret gun. And then pretty much right afterwards, Ainz goes out into the field. And next thing you see is the prince, where he is basically doing papers in his father's office. His sister, Princess Rhaenyra, shows up, asking where their father is that he is resting. I'm like, okay, interesting. And a lot of this conversation is pretty much intact from the book. Like, bringing about Marquis Raven, the fact that, attacked the various cities, the fact that also Marquis Raven's domain was heavily attacked, which is interesting to say the least. And also that, they plan to come to the royal capital next. Of course, that's where Prince Rhaenyra theorizes. And, of course, that according to Prince Zenek, he actually says, yes, your theory is possibly correct, because that's where they're on the way next. So he goes onto the field wearing, believe it or not, the very armor that Gazem Chernoff wore when he died at the end of the previous season of the show. Yes, the very red armor. So he goes out and meets Ainz. Now, there is a bit of conversation cut here where you have Ainz basically requesting a table and chairs brought up. And these are gorgeous looking chairs. I love the table. The fact you're drinking water, that actually is from the book itself. They didn't make it for the anime. Now, in the book, basically, it was Albedo basically was tasked to basically get these stuff made up. She had no problem doing this at all. And when, of course, the prince say one of them, excuse me, a lot of their conversation happens here, pretty much intact. Kaiko basically agrees that they should. And, of course, Ainz says this: one royal sent out to basically meet me, and I'm going to do the same. And for one thing, because of his way, he probably didn't think, though, that, the prince might carry weapons. He did carry a sword, but he wasn't threatening him. And, of course, they have a conversation. The conversation itself is about him having his own happiness, particularly who he's close to. And the first thing you see is Albedo. Because, of course, it's Albedo. Yeah, I mean, who could not resist that smoking hot succubus? Or the fact that comes right after the beautiful vampire. Yep. Now, before I continue here, actually, I should point out, though, that, after the conversation, the prince does ask Ainz, did one of his subordinates kill his brother? And he's like, yep, one of my subordinates killed him. It was Lupus Regina. She was one who killed him in the previous season. He's like, oh, now I confirm that. And then he goes off to his tent, planning the next attack, his own attack. And then some of his own generals basically rebel against him. They kill him, and they behead him, offer his head to King Ainz, to the sorcerer King Ainz, and request now, In the book, he says, give that a burial. In the anime, he says, give a proper burial. And then he basically takes the nobles who pledge their loyalty to him to be taken to Nagarito, basically Albedo's sister. Which, of course, Aura gives a special for that. And then, of course, that's where you think of the episode. But there's still one more thing to talk about here. The Blue Rose Knights. Yes. Well, the Blue Rose. That's a group led by Lucaris, who actually made her first appearance back in season 1. They do change her attire for this season. Yeah, for now she's wearing a full bodysuit, which is different from what she wore last season. She's the only one of the group who actually changed her attire. To my knowledge, there's no explanation of exactly why she decided for the season to wear a different attire. Everyone else pretty much wore exactly the same. So they go off to meet basically the Red Drop himself, who just happens to be Lapara's uncle. Yes, seriously. And then, of course, you have Evil Eye just using charm on the two girls. Tell them to go away, basically off to their room, which is revealed after the conversation is finished is actually his bedroom. Yes, seriously. And then, of course, you have people from, believe it or not, the same theocracy, which, when you see in the anime, it's kind of like, I don't know, Madhouse was probably ripping off Musuko Ten's incarnation because one of its members looks almost exactly like Roxy from that series. Heck, the guy next to him, despite like these people from the Black Scripture, appearance-wise, this woman is a spitting image of Roxy. Blue hair, big hat that she wears. The outfit's pretty much similar. The guy is with him. He looks almost exactly like Rudius, except that he's got different eyes than Rudius. And he's taller, too. He's basically the same height as Rudius, well, from the later point in the books, but not from the point of view of the anime. I don't know, maybe Madhouse took inspiration from Musuko Tensei, which is interesting to say the least. Now, I'm hoping Anime News probably eventually points out, though, something about this witch character who has this big, huge hat. It's also got hands on it, where it can basically move the front of its head up in the sea. But yes, this character, like, you look at her, it's like, what the heck is Rox doing here? Even though it's not her, it's a completely different series. It's just that this character looks exactly like her. And by the way, these people from the Black Scripture, a group that was first mentioned back in season 1. And from the Slain Theocracy. They refer to it as Theocracy, not the Slain Theocracy, just simply the Theocracy. I don't know why the anime refers to simply as Theocracy, despite like the full name is the Slain Theocracy. Maybe just abbreviation, I'm not really sure. So, they chat for a bit, and of course, Lucaris rejects their thing, and of course, Evil Eye, they think Evil Eye is a child, despite the fact she's over 100 years old. It's nice to see Gagorna up and around. I think this is probably her first time she's appeared this season. Well, actually, it's probably the first time she's appeared since the events of season 2. Been that long, yes. And it's probably the first time since season 2 that the entirety of the Blue Rose is actually assembled. Which means a bunch of smoking hot women. I'm not going to say about Gagorn, but yeah, when I was explaining to somebody that she's voiced by Colin Clickabeard, like, really? That's Colin Clickabeard? Yeah, it is. In the English dub, Gagorn is voiced by Colin Clickabeard. As far as I can tell, when you talk about the voice, it does not sound like her at all. No, it is weird. The fact that Colin Clickabeard has a completely different sounding voice to that stuff she usually voices when she voices beautiful human characters. Yeah, it's just something, though. So the whole thing with the Blue Rose Knights, they're basically here very briefly, and that's it. They're here for like one scene. It's nice seeing them. Gagorn herself gets like a couple lines. The twins get maybe one or two. Evil Eye gets a lot of lines this episode, which is interesting to say the least. Oh yeah, by the way, the uncle who, like right after the first conversation, proceeds to go to their room, proceeds to bang both women again. Because he points out, telling her uncle, please be properly dressed, because he's shirtless. He's not butt naked per se, he's basically wearing pants, which is pretty decent of him. But he can at least put on a shirt to be presentable. But no, he doesn't freaking care. He prefers to basically bang women over basically dressing properly. Yeah. But definitely a good episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, as far as I could tell for the season now, It's not officially confirmed yet. I'm assuming this season is going to be 13 episodes, given the fact the previous 3 seasons were in fact also 13 episodes as well. Do I think this one might be lasting longer than that? I have no idea. So if that's the case, we have roughly 3 episodes left to go. Which means that I'd probably say by the end of the month, we'll probably see the end of the season along with Heroin and Labyrinth in the World. That's what I'm reviewing tomorrow, by the way. And that's it for that, before it comes to that. So, yes, that's pretty much it for Stickler Review. Next up is going to be 3 straight comic corners. And then it's back to Plunder after that, okay? Next video. Bye.